Many species of birds, mammals, fish, insects, and other animals migrate hundreds to thousands of miles each year. They are following instinctual pathways in response to seasonal change. The start, middle, and end of each journey requires high-quality habitat to be waiting for each species to survive. While our restoration actions may feel local, migrating wildlife are a reminder that we are all tied together in a beautiful tapestry of ecosystems, cultures, languages, and practices.
Hello everyone, my name is Zheng Qiuyang. I now live in Beijing, China. I'm honored to share my artistic creation with you on SER 2021 as a graduate student in ecology. After graduation, I'm not only committed to drawing bird field guides and scientific illustrations, but also making animal sculptures. I'm a crazy birder too. Hope you all like my work. Thank you.
My name is Davan Hoang. I'm a wildlife artist based in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. I was born with a passion for animals since I was a little kid, and I started drawing very early when I was only 2 years old. But my dream of being a wildlife artist only came true some 50 years later, when I gave up an advertising career to dedicate to full-time painting. When I paint, I want to bring out the beauty of rare animals, those so rare few people know of. In my lifetime, I see desperate forest losses, but I also see hopes of species recovery, which I like to paint. The Calvit gibbon is a vivid example of how science goes hand in hand with local people in habitat restoration. Once thought extinct, they were rediscovered in 2002 in an agricultural community. Farmers were then happy to move out to give the forest back to them. The number keeps slowly but steadily increased ever since, and I had a chance of spotting them in their natural habitat some years back. Another primate I had the chance to see in the wild is the golden-headed langur. Their local numbers in the world rose from 60 to more than 70 after their habitat was better cared for and established as a national park. Some of the artworks here were donated to raise funds for their conservation. Most of the time, local people don't realize how valuable their next-door natural area is because they see it every day. One of the most effective ways to empower the local communities is to tap on their pride. In this regard, I am often invited to come and paint murals in different protected areas. Bringing out the values of their own natural areas with visual art makes people realize how worthwhile it is to start to pay respect to it. I like painting everything, from animals to plants, and I use indifferently acrylic, watercolor, or even digital. My work also spans from accurate scientific illustrations to fine art. I make sketches on my journal everywhere I go. I travel to nearly 30 countries from Africa to South, North and Central America, Australia, Europe, and of course Asia. I have a special concern for young generation. Part of my mission when I paint is to teach children to love nature. I want to take them out of the virtual and digital environment for them to regain a sense of reality by taking them to the real wilderness outdoor. Each eco-tour is centered around a particular theme, but the activities always include some drawing sessions and working with storybooks that I write and illustrate. I think art goes beautifully hand in hand with authentic ecotourism and education, which will then bring out all the great potentials of protected area, such as national parks and local reserves. I believe that art can help convince people to restore the dignity of the animals and the physical habitats they live in for future generations to enjoy.
From Tasmania, Australia, Kristen Lang, poet. The images you can see are from my home. This is country still able to be protected. Some lies in reserves and national parks, much remains vulnerable. What I find myself wanting to call for repeatedly in my work is a greater commitment to the more than human world. To be earth-centric, to behave as if we are indeed indigenous, all of us, to this planet we call home. How to persuade billions of humans to acknowledge the biome intimately, to know nothing is taken without consequence, and to embrace humility, responsibility, and justice for all the lives and presences on earth. The poems I will read here will not solve this problem, But the number of us wishing urgently to care for this place we are part of is growing. And like dominoes, all of us can contribute to that change. These poems are for the chance that we might yet give the world beyond ourselves our celebration, our regard, and our protection. The platypus. She is visible by her breath, strung in a rising arc under the surface, caped feet churning eddies over stones, and the mud like a bloom all around her. I stare down into the shadow of the river, the two of us, so near the heat in her, glimpsed through the water's flow, crab steps into my skin, the shock of it in the ballast of my flesh. I stay, tenterhooked for her ascent, the clear hit of her arrival, black, tiny eyes in the time-heavy curve of her skull. Wading with horseshoe crabs. By the time the land takes a form we would recognize, plates rubbing apart, oceans more or less where our maps would place them, there are no sapiens anywhere. Already there are spiders, 400 million years of occupation. Beside them, diatoms, turtles and sea jellies, bristleworms and sundews, skinks and ants, and not ourselves, not nearly. There are butterflies, bandicoots and geckos, eucalypts, wood moths and quolls. And when humans do emerge, we're inside the entanglement, earth lines in every cell. We traipse across the world, casting names for what we find, weaving them into our tales, squabbling over this or this inflection. And still it holds, the force of it. In every leaf, each moss-covered stone, every egg-laden pool, wombat, shark, each gull, billions of years old and whole planets bare of it, we were never alone. So much pushed to the point of falling now, rising in our sea of selves, our weight crushing the wilds. Not deaf to it, never but by our own tongues, and not all of us. Can we learn again the steps for being here? In the blue-green, in the weather and the bird calls, in the madness, in the tremor.
Kia ora, my name is Redwood Ryder. I'm speaking to you from my home in Aotearoa, New Zealand, in a little place called Golden Bay on the tip of the South Island. I'm a spoken word poet. I often write on ecological and activist themes. And for a long time I was wanting to write a poem about climate change, but I do not write or create very well when I'm in a state of agitation or overwhelm, which is often how I feel when I look at the latest research on climate change. So the poem finally flowed, though, when I sat by a river. It was a river that had swollen massively in one of these increasingly catastrophic rainstorms we've been getting here in recent years. But when I sat by that river, it was just flowing pure and clear, and there were wildflowers growing in the places where there had been landslides, and that connection to the spirit of nature finally helped me access the poem. I'll show some excerpts for you now. It's called Rising Tide. I'm sitting at the confluence of two streams, where Where last year's storm dumped more rain than ever before, till the ground couldn't absorb. Hillside tore, smashed the house, falling trees. Mud flows swept an old man on his couch, halfway to the sea. How you going, mate? Says the lady in the grocery checkout line, as I stand shivering, wondering just how much coal they've burned today to keep this whole store air-conditioned to approximately the temperature of the South Pole. How you going, mate? Good, thanks, I'm fine, though I lay awake nights. The newspaper says the 1% got a few cents more. And there's more about sports than our ongoing wars, where alliances coincide with oil supply lines. And somewhere there's a footnote. Oh, Greenland's just melted into the sea. Small tide, bottom of page 29. How you going, mate? Fine, thanks. Yeah, me too. Just fine. Statistics and facts and figures about what's happening on this planet can, I think, sometimes not quite reach people's hearts, or people can go into a state of overwhelm and numbness. So I see one of my tasks as a poet is to help thaw that ice within us. I find that when I'm on stage, when I'm able to really connect with my own feeling and my own experience, I can feel how that possibility opens up in the room for us all to be with the reality of our situation on planet Earth. Folks these days need a hope to feed on, 'cause hearts seek the rhythm of a vision to dream on. But courage, it doesn't mean fearless. It's to feel all this human and step forth in attunement with your highest blueprint. Knowing disease can sometimes be the seed of a deeper healing. I've noted in the blackest nights of this body's breathing. And I've seen a massive tide of open hearts pouring through the streets, seeing the first waves rising, join hands shutting down minds, locking bodies pipelines, dragged off by cops at times, but our branches intertwine. I sit at the confluence of the river of hope, the river of greed, river of fear, river of dreams. And I watch as through banks of rough granite, wildflowers spring up purple red, their necks tender green, saying, chaos opens the space, and life writes another way. We are that life. Here comes the wind. May love be the rising tide.